My name is Edgar Castañeda. I'm a representative of Western States Regional Council of Carpenters, representing 5,000 plus members here down the street at 1645 Main Street here in Chinatown. This project is critical. It will create thousands of mortgage-paying jobs, help recover from losses in foot traffic.
My name is Nolan Marshall. I am the president and CEO of the Social District. The Social District is the home of the Convention Center, LA Live, and the South Park neighborhood. We've been here many times supporting this project, and I have never seen for a project that we've supported as diverse a group of constituents as is behind me.
My name is Hillary Norton from FastLink DTLA, and I'm also here to testify on behalf of Move LA as a CCA director. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Convention Center expansion and modernization and urge you to support it.
My name is Ernesto Medrano. I'm the Executive Secretary of the Los Angeles and Orange Counties Building and Construction Trades Council. I'm here representing my fellow 160,000 skilled and trained union construction workers of our 14 trades who shape Southern California. We stand here in support of the Los Angeles Convention Center expansion project. It's not just an investment in the convention center, it's an investment in the careers.
Good morning. I'm John Lehman, Business Representative, IATSE Local 33. I'm speaking to you today in full support of the expansion of the LA Convention Center.
Ron Siemens, Jr., Coordinator at Teamsters Local 96. I'm here speaking on behalf of Chris Griswold, President of Teamsters Joint Council 42. We represent the skilled trade workers at the Los Angeles Convention Center, are part of 250,000 members and retirees that make up Teamsters Joint Council 42. The only reasonable choice is to approve the original Convention Center expansion and modernization project.
I'm the president of the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, representing over 800,000 union members in Los Angeles County, including the workers at the Los Angeles Convention Center. And I'm here today to speak in strong support for the Convention Center expansion.
Good morning. I'm Adam Burke with the Los Angeles Tourism Board, and as your contractor, my goal is to always ensure that you have the most accurate information on which to base your decisions. For the long-term health of our regional economy, I implore you, let's not let this generational opportunity pass us by. Thank you for your support.
My name is Sidney Berard. I'm a proud retired member of the Sheet Metal Workers Union, Local 105. Today, I'm here to support not myself, but my brothers and sisters in the trade who are looking for the same chance I had. I urge you to stand with us, your constituents, to support this project.
Good morning. My name is John Coley. I'm the president of District Council 36 of the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades and a proud member of Local 831 Trade Show Installers. We're gathered here today for one thing. Everyone behind me, this rail, is here to see what kind of leaders we have in the city of Los Angeles.
Getting to the question then of where are we financially and can we consider a project like this? How could we possibly afford that? This is our four-year outlook. We publish the four-year outlook as after the budget is adopted. As you know, we had a very, very large gap to close in this year's budget. This budget was balanced largely in structural ways, and our adopted budget outlook assumes that those structural changes will hold. So when we're asking ourselves the question, if the city is going to be taking on an additional $147 million in general fund obligations in fiscal 29-30, will we have the capacity to cover that? And certainly our revenue growth should far, far exceed that additional general fund obligation. It absolutely will require trade-offs, and we would have 147 million fewer dollars to spend on other things.
I want to begin our discussion by hearing from Councilmember Yaroslavsky, our budget chair.
Thank you, Council President. I have somewhat lengthy remarks, but I promise they'll be the only time I speak today. Colleagues, we all want a stronger downtown. We all want Los Angeles to host world-class events. The Convention Center plays a really important role in that vision. But the question before us today is not whether to invest in the Convention Center. The question is whether we commit to a nearly $3 billion expansion on terms that put our city's finances and our basic city services at risk for decades. This expansion is unrealistic, it's unaffordable, and it's fiscally irresponsible. It puts our city at severe risk, and I want to explain exactly how. We spent a lot of time in committee trying to get all the facts on the table, and the facts that we were able to glean are clear. This project is being forced into an Olympic-driven deadline that is unrealistic on its face. Over the next 910 days, crews would have to work 6 days a week, every week, with only 20 days of float days and several more for bad weather and other contingencies. That's approximately 5 weeks of slack in a 130-week construction schedule. Even the smallest disruption, supply chain delays, weather, labor shortages, or the city's own approval process, which we all know what that is, will push us off schedule. The contract itself identifies 27 relief events, which are reasons for delay not covered by the contract and for which we as a city are financially responsible for cost increases. 15 of those relief events hinge on the city meeting its own obligations in time. This means that if and when DBS or BOE or DOT too slowly moves to issue a permit, or when DWP's work on the electrical piece interferes with the contractor's construction work, the liability falls squarely on us. Taxpayers carry the cost of delay, and the risks don't end there. If the project slips past March of 2028, Olympic and Paralympic events already booked at the convention center will have to relocate. LA 28's incremental additional costs of relocation and any costs associated with lost revenues from, say, decreased ticket revenues, that falls on the city. At the same time, we're prepared to waste an additional $30 million on a start-stop construction plan, clearing the site for the games and then resuming work later. All of this is supposed to happen while DWP is still trying to design and deliver new power infrastructure, which will take DWP staff away from priorities like reconstruction of the Palisades, housing projects across all of our districts, and priority metro projects. The schedule just does not work. We are gambling billions of taxpayer dollars on a best-case scenario that everyone in this chamber knows is highly unlikely to come to pass. We can wish for it, but we know it's not going to happen. This is not careful planning. It's dangerous wishful thinking. I haven't even mentioned cost. The price has ballooned from $1.4 billion to $2.7 billion in less than 2 years. Now we're hearing as of this morning that it might be $2.6 billion. But that's important. It tells you all you need to know about one of the main issues with this contract, which is that it's not a firm fixed price contract. This means that the cost we pay can rise, and I'm telling you as a former land use lawyer, as a real estate lawyer, it's going to. When you account for the life of the bonds, we're looking at a minimum of $5 billion in taxpayer money. It's only going to go up. As you've heard, it's an average of about 90 or 100 million a year from the general fund for the next 3 decades. And that figure factors in all the revenue the project will generate. That's our annual net general fund hit. In the early years, it's closer to $160 million. That obligation is going to eat up all projected general fund growth for the foreseeable future. I am not making that up. It comes directly from the CAO's report. So what does that mean? Colleagues, it means that when we want to accelerate the hiring of police officers or expand the fire department, there will be no money left to do it. If we want to repair the sidewalks that are costing us more than $100 million a year in liability or build new bike lanes and walkable communities so that we're in compliance with HLA, there will be absolutely no money to do it. There's no money now, but there certainly won't be. When members want to start a public bank, restore funding for senior meals, pay for immigration defense, or hire more crossing guards to protect kids walking to school, there's not going to be money for it. If you think city services are bad now, and I think all of us would agree that they suck, and you thought maybe one day we would have funding to restore service, I have bad news. It's going to get worse. We aren't going to be able to afford even the level of service we have right now, which is crap. And it's not our city employees' fault. It's that we've been hollowing out sweeping vacancies for years. We've been underinvesting in our city workforce who do the work of providing core city services. Every new dollar of growth in our general fund will already be committed to paying for this project for years to come. And that assumes growth. We are assuming growth. If we hit a recession or a slowdown, which we know is a high likelihood of happening, we're in even more trouble. The plan depends on revenues that are shaky at best. State legislation authorizing freeway signage made things worse, as Mr. Szabo said. There's no agreement with Caltrans. Federal regulators or AEG may still block signage altogether, or even penalize the city for trying. Without those revenues, the gaps between costs and revenues are only going to grow wider. So even under the best case scenario, which is what we're seeing today, this project is going to consume every bit of financial flexibility we have. And if revenues come up short or if costs escalate further, which I think that they will, the general fund takes the hit. The cost of this project does not exist in a vacuum. We are already starting next year, with a $91 million structural deficit before we even see our first financial status report. The budget cycle we just went through was not an aberration. It is the new normal unless we get serious about our fiscal responsibility to this city and our constituents. At Housing and Homelessness Committee Wednesday, we heard that the city faces a new $220 million gap in homelessness services for next year without new state dollars. We are on the edge of a fiscal cliff just with regard to homelessness alone. And remember, LA is also on the hook for Olympic overruns. The first $270 million comes from the city, the next $270 million comes from the state, and then anything beyond that is ours again. It's a blank check. The convention center bill starts coming due the very same year we could be forced to absorb those Olympic overages. And by taking on the debt that this project requires, we are in effect running up our credit card, limiting our ability to borrow those bills or any else we decide is worth investing in for decades. We literally are talking about putting City Hall, the LAPD headquarters, and your local LAPD and LAFD stations up as collateral for this loan. We just closed a $1 billion budget gap. And to do so, this council made really tough trade-offs. But we weren't the only ones. Our city employees, including our sworn police officers and a lot of civilians, stepped up too. They agreed to sacrifice to keep things running. They accepted furloughs and unpaid days to protect services. So how can we ask our workforce to take unpaid time and in the same breath claim we have enough money to spend at least $5 billion on an expansion we know we can't afford? And here is the kicker. Every single one of those labor agreements and those contracts is up for negotiation in 2028, the very year we start paying debt service on this project. At the exact moment when our workers, our city workers, will be seeking raises and better benefits, the city will have locked itself into massive new obligations that squeeze out room for anything else. What's more, we're facing ballot box measures that propose to end our gross receipts tax. That's more than $800 million annually, or nearly 10% of our general fund. Another ballot measure could strip away the document transfer tax. These are 2 of the 7 major revenue categories in the city's budget. You'll notice I haven't yet mentioned the Trump administration, in part because we can't even fathom how bad the federal cuts are going to be. A yes vote will tie our hands financially for decades while our existing obligations are about to explode. Colleagues, I've heard the arguments about the opportunity costs of inaction, and those are valid. We should have done this 10 years ago. We really should have. But one of the arguments that seems to be carrying the day is that our predecessors failed to act for years, and if we don't act now, the price is just going to keep going up. And that's true. But when you can't afford something, you don't buy it because it will be more expensive later. You buy what you can afford. We have to weigh the very real costs and risks that Mr. Szabo outlined. They're right in front of us. They are not hypothetical. They are enormous. They threaten our ability to deliver the most basic services for all of our constituents. Most of our constituents don't even know that this is happening. If they did, they'd probably be upset about it. None of us wants to say no to downtown. I don't. I certainly don't. But there's a difference between saying no to this expansion and saying yes to a smarter path. That is what your Budget and Finance Committee recommended on Tuesday. Yes to upgrades and modernization. Yes to addressing deferred maintenance, not minor changes, hundreds of millions of dollars of changes. Yes to making the convention center functional and beautiful for the Olympic and Paralympic Games. And yes to expansion after 2028 through a competitive bid that allows us to manage costs, secure revenue, and deliver the project responsibly. That's exactly what the Budget and Finance Committee recommended. This path would invest hundreds of millions of dollars in downtown right now. It would protect the city's finances. and it would preserve our ability to meet the needs of our neighborhoods, all the other needs of our neighborhoods and communities. I've heard some questions about where this report comes from, the recommendation that we voted on 3-2 in budget, that it feels rushed and last minute. I want to tell you exactly where it came from. Back in April, 13 of us, 13 members of this body, voted in favor of a motion that asked for a value-engineered, less expensive version of this project. We asked for a version of the project that, quote, brings the net general fund obligation as close to zero as possible. That's what we asked for. 13 of us asked for that. We didn't put restrictions on what that could be, what it would look like. We just asked for what a version of this project looked like if it kept costs within a reasonable range of projected revenues. We never got that, colleagues. We never saw it. It was never given to us as an option. The CEO came back with a more expensive project with minimal value engineering. I find that completely unacceptable. 13 of us asked for it. We didn't get it, so I had to propose it on Tuesday. This is a difficult decision, colleagues. I recognize that. This is again why your Budget and Finance Committee sought to put this alternative modernization plan before us, so we had a third option. I think it's a real shame that we're not voting on that today. I'm closing, I promise. This has been hard, and I have the deepest respect for my colleagues and community members who are advocating passionately for this project. I also recognize where the council is on this. And I just want to close by saying that I, as much as all of you, hope that this is a success. I really do. I mean it, truly. And no matter what, we as a body are all in this together, and I will do everything in my power, working with all of you to make sure that it is, to find cost savings and keep things on track. If I have to call the head of BOE or DWP myself to get a permit approved, I'll do it. Because this thing has to succeed. There is no other option. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you.
Today, the City Council just voted 11-2 to approve the LA Convention Center expansion, which is expected to be complete by 2029, which is after the LA 2028 Olympics. This is going to have a price tag to taxpayers of $5.5 billion, and the city will need to pay off the debt by 2056. So when you combine all the revenues that it will bring in from the expansion and all the incremental tax revenue that we'll get, we are still on the hook to find an additional $104 million for the next 30 years. And so I'm afraid financially, because I do not know where we're going to find $104 million each year for the next 30 years. The past 2 years, the city has suffered major budget deficits. We've overestimated revenues. We've been $400 million short. In addition, we've been spending over budget. Liability claims, increased labor costs, and the city just keeps spending, and the city just keeps overestimating revenues. There's no controls. It mind boggles me how the city is handling its finances. So I do not know where we're going to find $104 million each year. I do know that, though, for the past two major budget deficits, 2 years in a row, the city has been depleting our reserve fund, where we started with $648 million 2 years ago, down to just $300 million. I know that we've been cutting city departments' budgets, and essentially we've been cutting their positions that they've been trying to fill because they're short-staffed. We've had to resort to layoffs. We've had to resort to furloughs. We've had to resort to hiring freezes to save that money to cover the overspending and the short revenue. And if you go around town, you could just see how bad everything is. Our roads, our streets, our sidewalks, our streetlights, our infrastructure, our rec and park facilities, our animal shelters. It's bad. And we keep cutting from those departments that service those areas. And I'm scared what it's going to mean for you all if services keep eroding. So I'm very hopeful, but if we don't find this $104 million, we either need to raise revenue somehow or we need to keep cutting somewhere. All right? I'll keep you all posted.